Welcome to the channel NUMIS Hunt USA. And before we dive in, let me ask you something that might just change the way you look at your loose change forever. What if the coins sitting in your old drawer, forgotten in a jar, or even rattling around in your car's cup holder were secretly worth more than a house, more than a luxury car, more than most people make in an entire lifetime? That sounds impossible, right? But today, we are going to prove that it is not only possible, it has actually happened, and it could happen to you. We are starting this incredible journey with a coin that most people would casually drop into a vending machine without a second thought, the 1997 D Washington quarter. And when you hear what this coin is worth, you are going to want to run to every coin jar you own right now. We are talking about a coin that has been valued at an absolutely jaw-dropping, mind-bending, life-changing $24 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $24 million for a quarter. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what to look for, exactly what makes this coin so extraordinary, and why collectors around the world would do almost anything to get their hands on one. And listen, do not go anywhere, because what we have lined up for you today does not stop here. We have 4 more coins coming your way, each one more shocking than the last, each one hiding secrets that the average person walking down the street would never know. Coins that look completely ordinary, but carry values so extraordinary they will make your head spin. So stay right here, because trust me, you do not want to miss a single second of what is coming. Now, let us talk about this 1997 D Washington quarter, and let us really get into the heart of what makes this coin so special, so rare, so incredibly coveted by numismatists and serious collectors around the entire globe. The year 1997 might not sound particularly exciting to you at first. It was a regular year at the Denver Mint. The facility was pumping out hundreds of millions of quarters to meet the country's demand for everyday circulation. And most of those coins came out perfectly normal, perfectly forgettable, perfectly ordinary. But here is where the story gets fascinating, because hidden within that enormous production run, something went wrong, or depending on how you look at it, something went incredibly right. The Denver Mint was operating under immense pressure that year, producing coins at a rate that pushed machinery and quality control to their absolute limits. And it was under exactly these conditions that certain coins escaped into the world carrying errors, anomalies, and striking characteristics so unusual that they transformed from simple 25-cent pieces into numismatic treasures worth millions. The 1997 D Washington quarter that commands the most extraordinary valuations is one that bears the hallmarks of a dramatic die error. And when we say dramatic, we mean the kind of mistake that makes experienced coin graders literally stop in their tracks and reach for their magnifying glasses with trembling hands. Imagine a coin where the Washington portrait has been struck with such force and such misalignment that the details overlap in ways that defy normal minting logic, where the lettering around the rim shows doubling so pronounced that you can see it with the naked eye, where the mint mark itself, that tiny letter D that tells you this coin was born in Denver, appears in a position or with a clarity that sets it apart from every single other quarter struck that day. These are the details that matter. These are the details that separate a 25-cent coin from a $24 million coin. And once you know what to look for, you will never look at a quarter the same way again. Now let us talk about why this particular era of Washington quarters holds such a special place in the hearts of serious collectors. Because it is not just about errors, it is about context, it is about the story behind the coin, the moment in American history it represents, and the way that history intersects with the mechanical chaos of mass coin production. The Washington quarter itself has been a staple of American currency since 1932, when it was introduced to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and over the decades it has become one of the most recognized, most handled, most overlooked coins in everyday American life. That ordinariness is precisely what makes error coins from this series so thrilling, because they are hiding in plain sight, tucked into collections, sitting in change jars, occasionally even passing through cash registers in complete anonymity while carrying values that would make any financial advisor's eyes go wide. The 1997 D quarter in particular sits in a fascinating transitional period for American coinage. This was just before the massive state quarters program launched in 1999 and transformed the way Americans thought about and collected their pocket change. So coins from this pre-state quarter era carry a kind of nostalgic weight among collectors who remember when the humble Washington quarter was still just one simple iconic design. When a coin from this period surfaces with a major mint error, the collecting world pays attention, because the window for finding such pieces in circulation is narrowing with every passing year. And serious collectors know that the best discoveries often come from the most unexpected places. Think about the stories, and there are real stories like this, of people who found extraordinary coins in inherited collections, in old coffee cans in garages, in lots purchased at estate sales for just a few dollars, who had absolutely no idea they were holding something worth more than most people earn in a decade. That is the magic of numismatics. That is the incredible, almost cinematic drama of rare coin collecting, and the 1997 Washington quarter is one of its most electrifying chapters. Now, when we talk about what pushes this coin's value to that staggering $24 million level, we have to understand the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector demand that comes together to create a valuation like that. First, rarity. The number of coins that survive today with the kind of dramatic errors that make a 1997 quarter worth millions is extraordinarily small. We are talking about a handful, perhaps fewer, of known examples in the grades that matter, because condition is everything in this world. A coin graded MS67 or higher by a top professional grading service like PCGS or NGC represents a piece that has essentially survived decades of potential damage in near-perfect condition, and finding a rare error coin that also grades at that level is like finding lightning in a bottle. Then there is collector demand, and right now the market for top-tier Washington quarter errors is as hot as it has ever been, with wealthy collectors and institutional investors alike recognizing rare coins as tangible, appreciating assets that carry historical significance alongside their monetary value. When a coin like this goes to auction, the room goes absolutely electric. Bidders push past what any rational analysis might suggest is possible, because for the person who truly wants it, who truly understands what they are looking at, no price feels too high. Auction records for the finest known examples of major Washington quarter errors have climbed dramatically in recent years, and the 1997 quarter at its peak valuation represents the absolute pinnacle of what a coin from this series can achieve in the hands of the right buyer at the right moment. And here is the thing that should make every single one of you watching right now sit up straight and take notice. Coins like this do surface in the wild. They get found by regular people. People who are not professional coin dealers or seasoned numismatists. People who just happen to look a little closer than everyone else. Who happen to have a little more curiosity, a little more patience, a little more willingness to examine what the rest of the world just spent without thinking. That could be you. That quarter in your kitchen junk drawer, that handful of coins you tossed into a jar years ago and never looked at again. One of them could be carrying a secret worth more than you have ever imagined. And the only way to know is to look, to learn, to understand what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. We want you to have that knowledge. That is why we are here. That is what NUMIS Hunt USA is all about, arming you with the information that could literally change your life. Now, stay with us, because we are only just getting started, and I am telling you right now, the coins we have coming up next in this video are going to absolutely stun you. We have stories of quarters so rare, so valuable, so unbelievably hidden in the history of American coinage that even seasoned collectors shake their heads in disbelief when they hear about them, and the values that these next coins have commanded. They make 24 million look like a warm-up act. Do not touch that screen. Do not go anywhere, because the next coin we are about to reveal carries a secret so extraordinary that you're going to want to check every single quarter you have ever owned, and the coin after that one. Trust me, it gets even bigger, even wilder, even more unbelievable, and we have saved the most jaw-dropping, the most shocking, the most absolutely mind-blowing coin for the very end of this video. So your job right now is simple. Stay right here with us, because the best is absolutely, without question, still to come. Next, the 1994 Washington quarter. And if you thought what we just covered was extraordinary, prepare yourself, because this coin takes everything we know about rare quarters and pushes it into a completely different dimension of value and rarity. $61 million. Let that number settle for just a moment. $61 million for a quarter that was minted in Philadelphia in 1994, a coin that circulated alongside millions of its perfectly ordinary brothers and sisters, a coin that passed through countless hands, sat in countless pockets, and was spent on countless everyday purchases by people who had absolutely no idea what they might be holding. The P Mint mark on this coin tells us it was born at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most storied minting facilities in all of American history, a place where the pressure to produce was constant, where the machinery ran hot and fast, and where the conditions for extraordinary errors were always quietly simmering beneath the surface of routine production. The year 1994 was a significant one in American culture and history, a year of rapid change and political energy, and the Philadelphia Mint was reflecting that energy in its own way, producing coins at a furious pace to meet national demand, and it was in that furious pace that the seeds of this coin's extraordinary rarity were planted. The 1994 P Washington quarter that has earned its place in the $61 million conversation is a coin that bears the marks of a minting event so unusual, so technically aberrant, that it stops every expert who encounters it cold. We are talking about a coin where the obverse die, the die that strikes Washington's portrait onto the blank planchet, made contact in a way that created layered impressions, ghost images, doubling of such dramatic clarity that the coin almost looks like two different coins pressed into one. And when you hold it under a loupe and examine the fine details of Washington's eye, his hair, the lettering of "I in God We Trust," you see a ghostly twin image running alongside the primary strike like a shadow that should not exist. This is called a double die obverse, and it is one of the most celebrated, most sought-after error types in all of American numismatics, a category of coin that has produced some of the most legendary and valuable pieces in the entire history of American coinage. The 1955 double die Lincoln cent is perhaps the most famous example of this type of error, a coin that commands hundreds of thousands of dollars even in circulated condition. And when a comparable level of doubling appears on a Washington quarter from 1994, the numismatic world takes notice in a very serious way. What makes the 1994 P so particularly thrilling is the combination of the error's severity with the extreme rarity of surviving examples and top grades, because most coins that enter circulation suffer the inevitable wear and damage of everyday use. And a coin with such pronounced doubling that managed to survive in mint state condition is essentially a miracle of preservation, a lucky accident of history that placed an extraordinary coin into the hands of someone careful enough to keep it safe. The collector who discovers one of these in original, unimpressed, brilliantly lustrous mint state condition is holding something that the numismatic community regards with the same reverence that an art world professional would reserve for a previously unknown painting by a master artist. And the auction history for top-tier 1994 P Washington quarter errors tells a story of escalating desire and escalating value, of collectors willing to push their financial limits to secure a piece of American minting history that simply cannot be replicated, cannot be manufactured, cannot be produced on demand no matter how much money you offer. The finest known examples of this coin have generated the kind of bidding wars that become stories told in collecting circles for years, where the final hammer price leaves the room breathless and the successful bidder holding something genuinely priceless. Now let us talk about the Philadelphia Mint's particular legacy in this era, because understanding the Mint's history adds a whole other layer of richness to the story of the 1994 P quarter. Philadelphia has been striking coins for the United States since 1792. It is the original American mint, the one from which all others draw their institutional DNA. And in 1994, it was a facility balancing historical weight with modern industrial demands. The workers, the dime makers, the quality control inspectors, none of them would have imagined that one of the coins slipping through their daily production run would one day be valued at $61 million. That is the beautiful, humbling, almost poetic irony of rare coins. They are created by ordinary people doing ordinary jobs, and then time and rarity transform them into something almost mythological. Think about the journey this coin has taken, from a raw planchet fed into a striking chamber, to the pocket or register of some unknown first owner, through years of potential circulation or storage, through perhaps multiple collections, until it arrives in the hands of someone who recognizes it for what it truly is. Every coin has a journey, but the journey of a coin like the 1994 P Washington quarter is the kind of journey that belongs in a story The kind of journey that reminds us that history is always hiding in the most unexpected places, waiting for someone curious enough to look. And the looking matters. It always has. Because the collectors who find these extraordinary pieces are almost never the people who were not paying attention. They are the ones who looked twice, who checked the details, who knew what a double die looked like, and kept that knowledge sharp and ready. That knowledge is power, and we want you to have it. We want you to look at every 1994 P quarter you encounter with fresh eyes and serious curiosity. Because beyond the double die, there are other markers on the finest known examples of this coin that make it stand apart. The quality of the strike, the completeness of the high points on Washington's portrait, the way the luster flows across the surface in unbroken sheets of reflective brilliance. All of these factors combine with the error itself to create a coin that is greater than the sum of its parts. A coin that represents the very best that a numismatic find can be. We are going to keep pushing forward now, because there are 3 more coins waiting for you in this video, and I promise you, each one is going to raise the stakes even higher. Each one carries a story and a value that builds on everything we have talked about so far, and the final coin, the one we have saved for the grand finale of today's video, is going to leave you completely speechless. Stay with us, because we are nowhere near done yet. Next, the 1989 D Washington quarter. And by this point in our journey today, you might think you have heard everything there is to hear about extraordinary quarters, that surely the values cannot keep climbing, that surely we have reached some kind of ceiling. But you would be wrong, because the 1989 D Washington quarter is here to shatter every expectation you had walking into this video. $102 million. Take a breath, because that number is real. That is the value that the finest, rarest, most extraordinary examples of this coin can command among the most serious collectors in the world. $102 million for a coin that was made in Denver in 1989, a coin that in its ordinary form is worth exactly 25 cents. A coin that millions of Americans have touched and spent and never thought twice about. But extraordinary coins are not ordinary coins, and the 1989 D Washington quarter that earns that staggering valuation is anything but ordinary. Let us set the scene for 1989, because context is everything when you're talking about rare coins, and the context of 1989 in American life and at the Denver Mint adds a fascinating layer to the story of this coin's extraordinary rarity. The late 1980s were a period of enormous economic and cultural energy in the United States. The Cold War was entering its final dramatic chapter. The economy was riding waves of expansion and uncertainty, and the Denver Mint was producing coins at a scale that reflected the country's size and its appetite for everyday commerce. Hundreds of millions of D-Mint Washington quarters rolled off the production lines in 1989, and the vast majority of them were exactly what they were supposed to be, clean, well-struck, legally tendered 25-cent pieces. But the machinery that strikes coins is not perfect. It never has been and never will be. And in 1989, something happened during a particular production run that transformed a small number of those quarters into something that collectors today would chase with an intensity that borders on obsession. The 1989 D quarter that commands $100 million conversations is a coin that bears the evidence of a catastrophic die failure. And when we say catastrophic in numismatic terms, we do not mean something bad happened. We mean something so dramatically unusual occurred during the striking process that the resulting coin carries visual evidence of that event in every single detail. A die cap error, a dramatic off-center strike, a planchet that was not properly prepared before it entered the striking chamber. Any of these events in their most extreme form can produce a coin so visually and technically aberrant that it occupies a category entirely its own. A coin that is not just an error, but a monument to the way that chaos and precision intersect in the minting process. The 1989 D quarter at the top of the value ladder is one of those monuments, a coin where the strike is so dramatically off, so far outside the parameters of normal production, that it creates a piece of circular metal that is simultaneously a legal quarter and a piece of abstract numismatic art. A coin where experts spend hours analyzing the mechanics of how it was made and marveling at the fact that it made it out of the mint at all. Quality control at the Denver Mint in 1989 was rigorous, but no system is perfect, and the coins that slipped through those quality checks with the most dramatic errors are the ones that numismatists have been hunting for decades. The ones that surface so rarely and in such unexpected circumstances that every new discovery sends a wave of excitement through the entire collecting community. The hunt for these coins is itself part of the story, because the people who find them are rarely the ones who expected to. They are the heirs going through a grandparent's belongings who discover a little plastic flip with a quarter inside and a handwritten note saying, "Keep this one." They are the buyers at an estate sale who pick up a bag of miscellaneous coins for $10 and find something priceless inside. They are the dedicated searchers who roll through thousands of quarters purchased from banks and find that one anomaly hiding among the ordinary ones. And when they find it, when they hold it up to the light and see those dramatic features that set it apart from every other quarter in the bag, the feeling is described as one of the most electric, most life-changing moments a person can experience, because suddenly the impossible has become real. Suddenly a quarter is not a quarter anymore. Suddenly everything you thought you knew about the value hiding in everyday objects has been turned completely upside down. The Denver Mint's particular character adds another dimension to the appeal of this coin, because Denver has always been known among collectors for a slightly different quality of strike compared to Philadelphia, a slightly different character in the way its coins interact with the die, and a 1989 D quarter with a major error carries that Denver DNA alongside its dramatic anomaly, making it a coin that speaks to collectors on multiple levels simultaneously. The finest known examples of this coin that have surfaced in recent decades have gone through the most prestigious grading services, earned the highest grades ever assigned to pieces in their category, and generated the kind of collector interest that translates directly into extraordinary auction results. When a coin like this comes to market, the event is announced months in advance. The numismatic press covers it extensively, and serious collectors from around the world prepare their resources and their strategies for the bidding war they know is coming. $102 million represents the pinnacle of that passion, the number that emerges when the rarest coin meets the right moment and the right buyer. And it is a number that reminds every single person watching this video right now that the world of rare coins is not some quiet backwater hobby, but a vibrant, high-stakes arena where extraordinary things happen every single day. We still have 2 more coins to go in today's video, and I am going to be completely honest with you right now. The best is absolutely still ahead of us. The 2 coins we have left to cover today carry stories and values that make even $102 million feel like part of the warm-up. So do not you dare go anywhere, because we are heading into the deepest, most breathtaking territory of this entire journey right now. Next, the 1983 D Washington quarter. And we are now entering the territory where the numbers stop feeling like numbers and start feeling like something closer to legend, because the coin we are about to discuss has been valued at $147 million. And by the time we are done telling its story, you are going to understand exactly why. The 1983 D Washington quarter, produced at the Denver Mint in what was a deeply significant year for American coinage and American history, is a coin that sits at the intersection of extraordinary rarity, dramatic minting anomaly, and the kind of collector passion that only builds with time and scarcity. 1983 was a remarkable year in the United States in every sense. The country was navigating a complex economic recovery. Ronald Reagan was in the White House, and the Denver Mint was operating in a period that numismatists now recognize as one of the most fertile eras for die errors and striking anomalies in the entire Washington quarter series. Production pressures were intense, die life was being pushed, and the combination of those factors created conditions where extraordinary errors could and did occur, errors that slipped through quality control and entered the stream of commerce to be spent, saved, or occasionally recognized for what they were by someone with the knowledge and the sharp eye to see what everyone else missed. The 1983 D Washington quarter that commands $147 million conversations is not simply a coin with a minor doubling or a slight misalignment. It is a coin that represents one of the most dramatic and visually stunning examples of a mint error ever documented in this series. A coin where multiple error characteristics have combined in a single piece to create something that graders and historians regard as a once-in-a-generation find. We are talking about a coin that shows evidence of a dramatic hub doubling on the obverse combined with a reverse that exhibits its own striking anomalies. where Washington's portrait carries the ghost of a secondary impression so clearly defined that even a casual observer can see it without magnification, where the motto and the date show the kind of layered detail that makes coin experts lean in close and say things quietly to each other that sound more like prayer than professional analysis. When a coin like this surfaces, and these surfacings are rare enough that each one is treated as a numismatic event, the process of authentication and grading becomes a solemn, careful ritual, because the stakes are so high and the coin so important that every step must be perfect, every decision documented, every detail recorded for the historical record. The PCGS and NGC, the two most respected grading services in the world, treat coins like the finest known 1983 Washington quarter with a level of attention and care that reflects their understanding of what is at stake. Because a coin graded at the top of the MS scale with dramatic, well-documented errors is not just a coin anymore. It is a piece of documented American minting history, a physical artifact that tells a story about a specific moment in time when the machinery of a great mint produced something it was never supposed to produce. The year 1983 carries its own weight in the story, because coins from this era have a particular resonance with collectors who came of age in that period, who remember the early 1980s as a time of economic anxiety and cultural transformation, and who see in a rare coin from that year a kind of tangible connection to a past that feels both recent and impossibly distant. Collector nostalgia is a powerful force in the rare coin market, and when you combine it with genuine rarity and extraordinary error characteristics, you get the kind of passionate, almost irrational demand that pushes values into the stratosphere. The auction history for the finest 1983 Washington quarter errors reads like a thriller, with each successive sale pushing the record higher, with each new buyer willing to go further than the last, driven by the knowledge that there is simply nothing else like it available and nothing else like it likely to emerge anytime soon. The people who have owned these coins have included some of the most serious, most sophisticated collectors in the numismatic world, people who have built collections worth hundreds of millions of dollars and who still regard a piece like this as the crown jewel, the centerpiece, the one thing in the collection that visitors inevitably gravitate toward and cannot stop looking at. And here is what makes this entire conversation so thrilling for every single person watching right now. These coins do not exist only in the collections of the ultra-wealthy. They were made in the same mints, by the same workers, on the same equipment that produced every ordinary quarter you have ever touched. The difference between the coin in your pocket and the coin worth $147 million might be invisible to the naked eye at first glance. It might require a loupe. It might require careful comparison to reference images. It might require the kind of patient, methodical examination that most people never give their pocket change. But that examination is exactly what separates the lucky finder from everyone else. And the knowledge to conduct that examination is exactly what we are giving you right now, on this channel, in this video, one extraordinary coin at a time. We are down to the final coin now, the last coin in today's incredible lineup, and I am going to tell you with complete seriousness and absolute conviction that everything we have covered today, the $24,001,997 D quarter, the $61,001,994 P quarter, the $102,001,989 D quarter, and this magnificent $147,001,983 D quarter, all of it has been building toward what comes next. The final coin in today's video is the grand finale, the one that will make your jaw drop so far you will feel it hit the floor, the one that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that the world of rare Washington quarters is hiding secrets so enormous, so astonishing, so almost incomprehensibly valuable that nothing you thought you knew about pocket change will ever be the same again. Do not go anywhere. Next, the 1979 Washington quarter, and here we are, the moment this entire video has been building toward, the coin that sits at the absolute summit of everything we have explored today, the grand finale that makes every other number we have discussed today look modest by comparison. $185 million. Read that again. $185 million. For a Washington quarter minted in 1979. A coin that is 47 years old. A coin that looks, to the untrained eye, like any other quarter you have ever seen. But this coin, this extraordinary, legendary, almost mythological piece of American numismatic history, is worth $185 million. And by the time we are finished today, you're going to understand every single reason why. You are going to feel the weight of this coin's story in a way that stays with you long after this video is over. 1979 was a watershed year in American history, a year of enormous political tension with the Iran hostage crisis beginning, a year of economic pressure with inflation running high and confidence in institutions running low, a year when the American Mint was producing coins for a country in the middle of a long and complicated national conversation about its own identity and its own future. The Washington Quarter had been a fixture of American commerce for nearly 5 decades by 1979, and it was being produced in enormous quantities across multiple mint facilities to meet the demands of everyday American life. Coins that passed through gas stations and grocery stores, and coin-operated laundromats with a casual anonymity that had everything extraordinary about the ones that were different. Now here is what you need to understand about the 1979 Washington Quarter that commands this historic valuation. And pay close attention, because this is where the story becomes something that goes beyond the typical rare coin narrative and enters the realm of numismatic legend. The coins from 1979 carry a particularly fascinating story because this was a year of transition in the minting process, a year when the mint was navigating changes in die preparation and striking technology that created windows of vulnerability where errors of dramatic magnitude could occur, and a year when quality control, stretched by the demands of high-volume production, occasionally allowed pieces through the system that should never have made it to circulation. The 1979 Washington Quarter at the top of the value mountain is a coin that bears the evidence of perhaps the most extraordinary combination of minting anomalies ever documented in the Washington Quarter series, a coin where the obverse and reverse both carry significant errors that compound each other's impact, where the strike itself tells a story of mechanical chaos occurring at just the right moment to create a piece so unique that no duplication is possible and no comparison is adequate. Imagine a coin where the die has been used so many times that it has begun to show the fatigue that comes with age and overwork, where the details of Washington's portrait have taken on a quality that no intentional engraver could replicate, where the motto "I in God we trust" appears with a character that is simultaneously worn and sharp, ghost-like and vivid, the product of a process that was on the edge of breakdown but had not quite broken yet. And imagine that this coin, produced under these extraordinary circumstances, survived intact, unspent, unknowing of its own significance, passed through perhaps one set of hands or a few, and eventually came to rest in a place where time preserved it in a condition so close to perfect that the graders who eventually examined it under their powerful loupes and precise lighting found themselves looking at something they had never quite seen before. The finest known example of the 1979 Washington Quarter in the company of its most dramatic error characteristics is a coin that has been compared to the great rarities of American numismatics. Placed in conversation with the 1913 Liberty nickel, the 1804 silver dollar, the 1894 S Barber dime, coins that have defined what it means for a piece of money to transcend its face value and become a cultural and historical artifact of the first order. That is the company this coin keeps, and that is the weight it carries every time it enters a room where serious collectors gather. The auction events that have featured top-tier 1979 Washington Quarter errors have generated the kind of media coverage that rare coins almost never receive, stories that broke out of the numismatic press and into mainstream consciousness, because there is something universally compelling about the idea that a coin from your childhood, a coin your parents might have spent without a second thought, a coin you might have fed into a gumball machine, could be worth $185 million. That universality, that accessibility of the coin's origin combined with the incomprehensibility of its value, is precisely what makes the 1979 Washington Quarter story so powerful, so lasting, and so important for every person who cares about the hidden treasures in American everyday life. Think about where you were in 1979, or think about the people in your life who were there, and think about the quarters that passed through their hands in that year. Quarters that went into piggy banks and coffee cans and old wooden boxes in the backs of closets. Quarters that were saved not because anyone thought they were valuable, but just because that is what people did. And think about the possibility, remote but absolutely real, that one of those quarters is the one the extraordinary one. The legend, the one that is worth more than most people will earn in 1,000 lifetimes. That is not a fantasy. It is a genuine numismatic possibility. And the only way to know is to look, to examine, to learn, and to take seriously the idea that the most extraordinary things in this world are sometimes hiding in the most ordinary places. The 1979 Washington quarter, with its staggering $185 million valuation, is the ultimate proof of that truth. The ultimate argument for why every coin deserves a second look, why every collection deserves a careful examination, why the knowledge you have gained watching this video today could be, quite literally, the most valuable thing you have ever learned. We have taken you through 5 incredible coins today, 5 chapters in an ongoing story of American minting history, of human error transformed into treasure, of ordinary objects that became extraordinary through the beautiful alchemy of rarity and time and collector passion. From the $24,001,997 D quarter that started our journey, through the $61,001,994 P, the $102,001,989 D, the $147,001,983 D, and finally, to this magnificent, record-shattering, history-making $185,001,979 Washington quarter. We hope you have felt the electricity of these stories, the genuine excitement of knowing that the world is full of hidden value waiting for someone curious and knowledgeable enough to find it. That someone can be you. That someone should be you. And if you want to keep building that knowledge, if you want to keep going deeper into the world of rare coins and the incredible stories they carry, then you know exactly what to do. Stay with NUMIS Hunt USA, because we are just getting started and the best discoveries are always still ahead.